There are about 5,000 women here today. Among us, 1,250 have been or will be sexually assaulted. 1 in 4. Only 10% will report it. The other 90% take refuge in silence. Half of them because the incident involved a close family member or someone they knew. The other half don't talk about it because they fear they won't be believed. And they're right. We don't believe them because when a woman tells us what happened to her, she tells us things we don't expect to hear. When we hear or read a story, we immediately visualize it. The rapist, a depraved, lower-class man. The victim, a young, attractive woman. The image only lasts 10 or 20 seconds, and it's dark and two-dimensional. There's no sound, no movement. It's as if there were no people involved. But when a woman tells her story, it doesn't fit in 10 or 20 seconds. In 2017, Inez Herkovich, a pioneer in the study of sexual violence against women, gives a TED Talk on why women stay silent after experiencing sexual assault. Herkovich explains the societal factors that cause women to feel like they won't be believed or that they will be blamed for their assault. Women's Silence by Inez Herkovich. The following is the testimony of a woman I'll call Anna. I'd gone with the girls in the office to the pub we always go to. We met some guys, and I hooked up with this super cool guy. We talked a lot. Around 4 a.m., I told my friends it was time to go. They wanted to stay. So the guy asked me where I lived and said if it was okay with me, he'd take me home. I agreed, and we left. When he pulled over near the highway, that's when I got scared. But he told me to relax, that he liked me, and that nothing would happen unless I wanted it to. I didn't say anything because I thought I would make him angry and things would get worse. Suddenly, he jumped and tried to kiss me. I said no. I tried to push him away, but he was holding my arms down. I told him he wasn't the kind of guy that needed to do this to be with a girl. I tried to calm him down. I spoke nicely to him. I talked to him as if I were his older sister. Suddenly, he covered my mouth with one hand, and with the other, he unbuckled his belt. I thought right then he would kill me, strangle me, you know? I never felt so alone. I asked him to finish quickly and take me home. Now, when we hear this story, not on the news or from someone like me presenting it on a stage like this, when we hear it from someone we know who chose to entrust us with the story of what happened to them, we'll have to listen. And we'll hear things we don't understand or accept. So to protect ourselves from the discomfort, we have an option. We turn up the volumes on the parts of the story we did expect to hear, and we turn down the volume on the parts of the story we didn't expect to hear. Why did we do this? So we can feel confident that she really was a victim. I call this victimization of the victim. Victimization because in order to believe she really was a victim, we have to think of her as helpless, paralyzed, mute. But we have another option, and it's exactly the opposite. We turn up the volume on the things we didn't expect to hear, and we turn down the volume on the things we did expect to hear. We do it so we can cling to the doubt. Then questions that aren't really questions, but rather judgments that end in a verdict. She asked for it. That finding would be verified by the fact that she hadn't mentioned having struggled. That means she didn't resist. That means she consented. I call this blaming the victim. Now, these arguments that serve us both to blame and to victimize, we all have in our heads. So much so that when Anna came to me, she told me she didn't know if her story was going to be of any use because she didn't know if what happened to her qualified as rape. Anna believed, like most of us, that rape was a violent act that lasts 4 or 5 minutes and not smooth talking from a nice guy that lasts all night. when she was afraid she might be killed and had to give her body to avoid it, that's when she knew rape was something different. Anna had never talked about this with anyone. She didn't because she was afraid. She was afraid the person she'd choose to entrust her story to would have the same reaction as the rest of us. They'd have doubts, suspicions, those same questions we all have when it comes to things like this. And if that had happened, it would have been worse than the rape itself. Anna keeps silent because deep down she knows that nobody, none of us, not her family or therapists, let alone police or judges, are willing to hear what Anna actually did in that moment. First and foremost, Anna said no. When she saw her no didn't help, she spoke nicely to him. She tried not to exacerbate his violence or give him ideas. She talked to him as if everything that were happening were normal. Now, I wonder, and I ask all of you, all those things she did, isn't that considered resisting? No. For all, or at least most of us, it's not. Probably because it's not resisting in the eyes of the law. The laws still require that the victim prove her innocence by showing that she engaged in a vigorous and continuous fight with her aggressor. I can assure you, in most court cases, no amount of marks are ever enough. I've listened to many women's stories, and none of them have talked about themselves as if they were reduced to a thing. Rather, they sound astonished and even a little proud, looking back and thinking how clear-headed they had been at the moment. Then I realized, of course, what women are doing in these situations is negotiating. They're trading sex for life. They subject themselves to penetration because penetration hurts less than kisses, caresses, and gentle words. Now, if we keep expecting rape to be what it very rarely is, with the rapist as a depraved, lower-class man and not a businessman or university student, if we expect the victim to be demure women and not self-confident women, we will continue to be unable to listen. Women will continue to be unable to speak. We will all continue to be responsible for that silence and their solitude.